Anyway, everybody, welcome, I guess, to the Black Friday edition of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We don't have anything BOGO. We're not on sale.
But you know what we're giving away?
What are we giving away?
Entertainment.
I mean,
And it's always a bargain because nobody pays for it.
we do entertainment 45 weeks a year, which, listeners, Pero Primos, this is our second to last episode
Yeah.
of the year, of the season, of season 7.
We're rounding it out. Yeah.
We will be, next week will be our last episode, and then we will not be back till January 31st.
Yes, but you know what the beauty of it is? That if you listen to us, you can go back and watch us.
You can.
Because now there's something to watch, so you can occupy the time.
You can during our break.
Yeah.
Or you could go listen to our, old interviews. There's a lot now that we're on video.
Content.
There's a little bit of it. There's 326. There'll be 327 episodes.
More.
Take your pick, but don't go back to seasons 1 and 2.
No, season 2 is okay, but like midway.
Yeah, and then season 3 was the pandemic, and then we're trying to figure out Zoom. So there may be a few shaky episodes.
What we're saying is pick and choose.
I would do second half of season 2.
This is great. It's like we're recommending a show where it's like, oh, the writing wasn't that great at the first, but then it really picked up.
I would do second half of season 2 and then season 4 and above.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's where we hit our stride. We found the really good arc.
We were hitting our stride at the end of season 2, but then, that pandemic, that pesky pandemic
The damn
came.
pandemic. Besal pandemic.
Do you remember when the pandemic came? We were like, what are we going to do? Well, like many people.
Like
the whole
everyone.
world.
Yeah, like the whole
we were
world.
like, are we going to stop production of the show?
And we did not.
We did not. We did not.
We
miss a
figured
single
out
episode.
how to do it. But yeah, not as great as it was
A
becoming.
little staticky.
But you know what? But we put out product. Nobody can
We
accuse
did.
us of
Nobody
of
can say that
coasting.
we did not put content.
Absolutely.
Other podcasts would have not done that. But
This is true.
we will not be petty and we will not go there because it's Thanksgiving.
That's right. Well, we will be petty, but we won't go there.
It's Thanksgiving.
We'll be petty off camera.
It's Thanksgiving.
It is Thanksgiving.
So I was actually reading earlier this week or a few days ago, earlier this week, on CNN, and they did like some investigative reporting, and they found that most Black Friday deals on Amazon, not only Amazon but on several realtor, are phony.
In what sense?
In that they inflate the price
and then tell you it's
on sale. They're phony sales. This didn't really surprise me. I mean,
no, I think again, like I've said this before, like the heyday of the Black Friday was probably like the 80s and early 90s, where like you would have people killing themselves to get things on sale. What I'm saying is, in recent years, you can price comparison so much that there's no.
But
point
in
to Black
recent
Friday.
years, like in the last 5 years, because not too long ago. I mean, we've talked about it here. You had stores that were now opening on Thanksgiving.
No, that's true. Yeah, you're right. No, but to me, I think that was actually, in a weird way, it was kind of a turning of the tide in terms of people.
You've had enough,
right? Because, excuse me, we'll camp out at a Best Buy. Damn it!
I won't.
Let me finish. We'll camp out at a Best Buy, but the day you start opening up on Thanksgiving, that's when people are just like, no, that's the line.
Opening up on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'll wait outside your store on Thanksgiving to make a purchase, but don't open up and let me in.
So, do you still do the Black Friday thing with your sister? Because I know that was like a tradition for you guys.
No. We didn't do it last year. And we're not going to do it again this year. But it's not worth it. And like even so, I mean, if you think about it, Black Friday, like I was just saying, Black Friday deal started like mid-November this time, and now it's Black Friday week and Black Friday month, and then there's Cyber Monday.
Oh, that's going to be Black Friday 365.
Yeah, it's like Cyber Monday leap year. Like it's.
I sit here proudly saying I have never shopped on Black Friday.
I'm gonna applaud you,
Junior. Have you ever shopped on Black Friday?
Yes, with my father.
Oh.
Best Buy.
Okay.
there you go. So.
If I would have done a store, it would have been Best Buy.
Well, but that's what I mean. Like in its heyday, right? At the peak of it, I feel like there were actual bargains where it was like you were getting this gigantic television for like $3.50.
I have to tell you that I remember being like a kid and this was in the 90s because Best Buy opened up here at least in Miami in the 90s. And I remember stepping into Best Buy and being like, is this what it feels like to go through the gates of heaven? It was like, CDs, movies, TVs, video games, computers, printers. It's like
It really did have everything.
I used to like going to Best Buy just to hang out.
Oh yeah, no, vamos a ver rato.
It's like that and the sharper image.
Oh yeah, but
The sharper image gone but not forgotten.
yeah. See, that's the Best Buy could never compete with Sharper Image on one thing and one thing only.
What?
La silla de masaje.
La silla de masaje. But you know what was a great thing about the sharper image is that you would go to the sharper image and there would be all these things that you'd be like, this is incredible. Like, this is amazing. Like, I need this now. But nobody would ever buy anything at the sharper image. I don't know anybody that bought anything at the sharper image.
Or if you did buy something that was Sharper Image brand, you would buy it at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Right, but that was like the brand.
Right,
it wasn't even the store. But I remember that, Sharper Image was like something you would aspire to. It's like, we're going to Sharper Image. Like, it's a big deal. Pero nadie compraba nada ahí. You would spend an hour going around the store, trying all the knickknacks. Te montabas en la silla de masaje. You get a massage until it was awkward.
Yes. What would you say was the appropriate time limit on the massage
5 minutes?
5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a point that when you were in the massage chair at the sharper image, you were like, okay, it's getting awkward now. Like, I need to get up.
There's a crowd.
Yeah, you need to get up. But, nobody bought anything at the sharper image, which could be why they are out of business nowadays.
Yeah.
But man, did we enjoy the sharper image.
We did. We did. The catalog of the Sharper Image was fantastic.
I remember that the local Best Buy here in Bird Road, which I actually think that's the one that Seth Burger Beast was the manager of. Mm-hmm. I remember that when you would walk in to your left, up on the wall, they had a huge mural of Aladdin. For years, they had it. That was like really, really nice. But I remember that what I looked forward to the most was like going straight to the CD section and being
spent hours.
Yeah.
And hours.
Yeah.
And hours.
I'll never forget when I had already graduated high school, I had saved some of my high school graduation money. And that's, when I started to work, when I started college, that I saved money. I saved like almost $2,000 to buy myself an IBM Aptiva.
Ooh.
And it had a Pentium 1. And it's like, dude, that was such an upgrade, a Pentium 1 from a 486.
I just love it, really, Pentium 1.
Yeah, it didn't have a Pentium 2. It had a Pentium 1. And I was like, wow, I can launch a rocket with this computer. The IBM Aptiva, that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
IBM, Compact, Acer.
Oh, Acer. I totally forgot about Acer.
Yeah, Acer, Toshiba.
Gone but not forgotten.
No. And I remember the first time I got a cordless mouse. I was like, wow.
That was technology, sir.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to be out of a certain age to remember life before Windows 95. When it was Windows 3.1 and you had to get to programs by DOS.
Oh, the DOS of it all.
Do you remember life before Windows 95, Junior?
No.
Yeah.
That's the moment where he's younger than us.
Yeah. Yeah. Windows 95 was so big that Friends, it was Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston were part of the campaign to launch it.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. I was all up in those Windows things. It's been the most Windows. Here we are. Welcome to tech on Pero Let Me Tell You. Do you know what's...
you mean Pero Let Me Tech You?
Let me tech you. What's been the most popular Windows platform?
No.
Windows XP.
XP?
Yeah. The one that was around in like the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. That's the one that had the big green start button.
Oh.
That's the one that had the hills. The Hill.
The Hill. Okay.
The Hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the biggest failure was Windows 7. No, Windows Vista.
Vista. Yeah.
It was a big failure.
That I remember.
Yeah. And technically, they say the best one is XP or 98.
Really?
Yeah. Well, 95 was the first one.
Oh, okay.
And thank you for coming to Pero Let Me Tell You's Tech Corner. We don't talk tech much, but when we do.
Oh, we're thorough.
I don't even know what Windows version I'm in now. Like Windows 75. Do we even
count anymore?
I don't. Oh my gosh. It was so funny.
It's just Windows.
So I've always been an Android person. Mm-hmm. As you know, I've never been an iPhone person. Right. So Android, for the first several years, their updates or their new version of Android were based on food. So it was like Android donut, Android eclair.
Really?
Yeah, and then Android ice cream sandwich. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
what a delicious upgrade.
So for years, I'd be like, when am I getting the ice cream sandwich?
They no longer do that.
No, they ran out of food.
Okay, really? With all
No,
the
because
food
it
that
was
there
up
is
the
out there in the
alphabet. It was
world?
up the alphabet.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So what did they end once they got to like
No,
ziti?
now it's in numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That would have been a good one. Pasta.
Yeah. The Android ziti.
Or
Or
like,
Zeppeli.
then they could do like countries, you know.
I like this idea. You should write them a letter.
Andrew Romania, Android deal.
You should, I'm like, who's Andrew Romania? It's like a British pop star.
So anyway, bueno, no Black Friday, no Black Friday sales for any of us.
No Black Friday sales for any of us.
So, you know, that's that.
It's all good. It's all good. So I wanted to bring something up today that actually, so a friend of mine, she reached out. So I was looking at my phone a little earlier because I was pulling something up. So a friend of mine, she shared with me an email that she sent someone. Okay, I'm going to try to set this up while saying things without saying too many things.
Mm-hmm.
So she was speaking to someone who owns a local media company.
Mm-hmm.
And unbeknownst to her, she thought she was just having kind of like a conversation with this person that she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, I guess, interpreted it more of along the lines of, you know, maybe you're looking for a job or a position or what have you. And gave my friend some unsolicited advice. Or basically, she sent an email with feedback that my friend didn't ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend responded back to her. Now, I'm not going to say much more than that because I'm going to read the response
Okay.
that my friend sent. Dear Fulana.
Fulana.
Yeah.
Ya empezamos bien.
Yeah, well, you know, she said her real name, but I'm not going to say that
Yeah.
now. Dear Fulana.
Which, by the way, before you start, Fulana is so much better than Jane Doe.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I would, oh my God, we should go to like a coroner and just start changing them.
Fulana and Fulano.
Yeah.
Who was Fulano patient zero?
We'll never know.
We'll never know who it
We'll
was.
never know. Exactly. It's built in.
Yeah.
Built-in anonymity. Okay, so thank you for taking the time to connect with me the other day. Regarding the feedback about my use of Spanglish, I wanted to share my thoughts. First, thank you. I appreciate it and take it as constructive criticism, as it's always valuable to understand how others perceive our communication styles. On the other hand, I understand that you dislike it / hate it and find it unprofessional, even though, as you mentioned, it is part of the cultural fabric of Miami. And by the way, in my island, Puerto Rico, as well. However, it's important to clarify that, in my mind, our conversation was between friends, not a professional setting, or, as far as I knew, an interview. When I spoke and wrote to you, I did so in a relaxed manner, confident that I was addressing a friend. Please note, professionally, I am very mindful of how I communicate, tailoring it to the context and audience. Also, I want to gently suggest that when expressing your dislike for Spanglish, it's important to avoid regionalizing or judging those who speak it. Comments like that, even if unintentional, can come across as dismissive or even discriminatory, especially given how integral Spanglish is to many bilingual communities. I personally have professional friends from Hialeah who are highly accomplished and polished, disproving any stereotypes associated with such language use. Your feedback has made me reflect on how Spanglish might unintentionally affect perceptions, and I will be more mindful of how and when I use it. At the same time, I invite you to embrace Miami's rich cultural diversity, which includes bilingual expressions like Spanglish. It's a unique aspect of our community that doesn't have to detract from professionalism when used appropriately. Ironically, your company already reflects an openness to this cultural blending, which I find wonderful and worth celebrating. Again, I appreciate your willingness to provide feedback and help with my job search. However, I've decided to focus on finding a part-time, so it just kind of ends with that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share with you. I'm not going to say it out loud, but I'm going to share with you the name of the company, because it's going to be part of my whole thing of why I find this absolutely awful and hypocritical. Okay.
As the publication?
Yes. Well, as the company.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
That is very surprising.
When she sent me this text, I was enraged for like a good 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just annoyed.
So I have a question. The
Yeah.
person she wrote that to,
Mhm.
is that person Latin?
That person is Latin, has a Mexican background. From and this person and that person, the person who she's responding to, is from Chicago originally, so not a Miami native, but has been in Miami for several years at this point, based on what I could tell from.
Okay, so the person lives in Miami now. The person who wrote the nasty, the condescending email,
the unsolicited email. Yes.
And do you know the context in which they were having the conversation?
I don't know the context, but again, like she said in her response, she's like, I thought we were just chatting amongst friends, not,
It wasn't a job interview.
Right. It's not like I showed up for a job interview and didn't know how to behave myself.
Right.
Is the context of which I'm getting in this.
Because what I would say is this, as somebody who speaks Spanglish,
a little bit.
Spanglish is something I wouldn't use in a job interview unless I feel that the people who are interviewing me either speak Spanglish or know Spanglish. So there's a lot of things I would take. Are they from Miami? Are they, because if I'm having an interview, let's say with like a company here in Miami, and I know the other person on the other end probably speaks Spanish or is Latin, and I put a pero in there, right, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, right?
Right.
Whereas maybe if I'm having an interview with like a very, very, Forbes, Fortune 100 company that's based in New York City, I'm not.
You're going
right.
to tailor yourself, right?
So I
Which
could
she said
understand.
she
I could
does.
understand if she was in an official interview.
Right.
If maybe somebody on the other hand told her that, but I would have not used, because clearly that person used that they were annoyed or they disliked.
Yeah.
Right. You need to be very using a certain amount of discretion, which when saying that, especially if they were not having that conversation in a professional or official capacity.
Right.
If I was your friend, what I would do is that I would refer her to Pero Let Me Tell You season 6 guest, who was a doctor and a linguist and historian from FIU.
Yes.
Who we had here on the show. What was his name?
I can't remember his name right now.
We should know.
I know.
That he talked about
Miami having its own language.
Miami having its own dialect, not Spanglish.
No.
Miami having its own official dialect.
Yeah.
Because this was based on research that was done.
Language almost.
Yeah. So I would refer her to that. I just think that the way, based on her response, it seems to me that the way that she was approached to that was extremely insensitive and lack of tact.
Okay. You ready for my opinion?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to start at the beginning. You saw the name of the company.
Yes.
If you have such a problem with Spanglish, why is your name using Spanglish?
I mean, it's literally a Spanish word.
Followed by an English one.
Yeah.
Using it as a play on another English word.
Yeah.
So,
and that corporation that you're talking about has an English equivalent, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So,
which uses an English word.
Right. So you're so against Spanglish, and yet it's literally the name of your company. All right. Let's move on, hypocrite. So the fact of the matter is that if you are my biggest problem is also that if you are a transplant, again, this other person has been here for a while based on what I was able to research and find, but you're not from here. You don't get to show up to my community and make judgment calls on whether or not my community is appropriate for you or not. Mm-hmm. Okay. Especially when you are a smaller business that is trying to, for whatever, to varying degrees, obviously, ingratiate yourself as part of the community and look for business within it. You need to adapt yourself. You can't show up here and expect people to do things how you want it done. Mm-hmm. And we've said this before when people, like we were saying, people coming from New York, who they're like, oh, this is like, no, sweetheart, no. You don't show up to New York and try to change New York. Mm-hmm. Don't do it here in my back door.
Right. You don't come to Ping Pong Pollo and want 2 wings when we sell them in 5 and 10.
And I will tell you it's not available. Mm-hmm. Put that out. And what I also and she brought up Hialeah in her thing because in the other email she specifically called out Hialeah as like being like unprofessional, low class, and all that.
She said that?
Well, I'm paraphrasing, but she basically called out Hialeah as the example of what not to do.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Can we get the original email? Just for
I'll ask her. She can send it.
Do I know this friend?
You've met this friend actually. You met this friend when you were the kept husband. That weekend.
In Cancun.
Yes.
When I was
So she,
kept husband in Cancun.
So she was there that weekend amongst a lot of other people as well. My bigger problem with it is the microaggression.
Yeah, the
of it,
microaggression, definitely.
right? Because my thing, it's funny how your brain works. One of my thoughts was with her saying that it's unprofessional. You know where my mind immediately went to?
Mm.
Companies that tell black employees that they can't have dreads,
Yeah.
that they can't have braids because
Yeah.
that's unprofessional. It's
Yeah.
like, but am I doing my job? Am I
Right.
doing it properly?
Right.
So what does it matter
Right.
how I communicate amongst others or
Right.
internally?
Because
Like,
that's a lack of understanding culture.
right. It hit me. And I know maybe I'm reaching, but it felt like it's that same slippery slope of
Because
your culture is
because you know what? If you are annoyed at Spanglish to
Well, don't live
that
in Miami.
extent, I bet you she's probably just as annoyed at the Miami accent.
Yep. So you should definitely listen to our show.
Let's say if, man, Betty Pastelito will send her in a spiral.
She can't listen to Lucy Lopez.
Lucy Lopez.
I don't
Like,
explode.
I mean, because then if you are so offended by Spanglish, then you will probably be offended by the Miami accent. Ay, mira, que se va y se come una palta.
Right. And look, I've had, like, to your point, I've had interviews where I was interviewing with companies that are multicultural companies, and I actually tossed Spanglish in there on purpose to show, look, I am not just in tune with what you need me to do on a professional basis, but I am the target. I am, I'm speaking that language, right? If, to your point, if I'm showing up for an interview in somewhere that's in Wichita, Kansas, I'm probably not going to even throw in a pero.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna be it's a very different personality. So again, if you're a company that is based in Miami, that based on the name of the company seems to be, wanting or part of the community, you have to embrace all of it. Especially again, when your name is how it is, which is the epitome of fucking hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm. So, bueno,
So,
no flung for her.
No flung for her. She doesn't get a coquito.
She doesn't get the last coquito.
No, not even the first one.
Speaking of coquito, so what are we doing with all this leftover Thanksgiving food? Do you know what I make every year?
Well, yes, you tell everybody what you make.
Okay,
every
actually,
year.
no.
This time it's on video.
No. I'm gonna give you guys my post Thanksgiving recipe for the gobbler.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You've talked about it, but now they can visualize
Okay,
it.
so this is DJ's post Thanksgiving
Junior,
recipe
take notes.
for the gobbler. So this is a sandwich. So you need a hearty bread. So I recommend like an Italian focaccia or like some type of hearty bread.
So not a tortilla.
No, you don't want a soft white bread. You don't want maybe even a baguette. You need a hard, sturdy.
Has to have a good crust.
Yeah, a sturdy bread. Then you get some gravy. So you're gonna put gravy in both breads. Then you're gonna put some stuffing, some ham, some turkey topped with cranberry, and make that a sandwich. And that, my friends, I call the gobbler. You can thank me later. It's a full Thanksgiving meal on a sandwich. Now, if you're here in Miami, you should probably add pork to it.
Yeah, just throw some lechon.
Lechon in there because who are we kidding, really?
Yeah, it's
I
there.
mean,
Un pedazo de yuca. Just,
but you could do a variation of it. You could do like the traditional one and make it Miami. A variation of it.
The Miami gobbler.
The Miami gobbler. The Miami goblin.
That sounds like a rejected mascot, but I'm gonna go with it. The Miami gobbler.
The Miami gobbler. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Junior's chuckling over there.
That's what I do with my leftover food. That the other day, I'm not the first person to say this, but I was talking to somebody who was like, "Oh, I'm so sick of South Florida. I'm moving to like the Carolinas, all that bullshit." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, so you're moving from where La Gallina go kikiriki to where they go cock-a-doodle-doo, right?" And he was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like Latin gallinas go kikiriki. But when you move to North Carolina, it's chickens. They go cock-a-doodle-doo.
Right.
They don't sound the same.
They're not.
They're not the same.
They're not.
So I think that's something that people, when they leave South Florida, they need to understand that they're going from kikiriki to cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah. The dogs don't make the same noise, and neither do the cats.
Yeah. No, but the chickens especially.
The chickens especially, yeah.
Chickens are an integral part of
the mountain life and
the mountain life, of the Hialeah life, and the Miami life.
Well, no, right, but you're also going to the Carolinas, so it's also part of that world. Yes.
No, they don't. They don't have chickens roaming around in parking lots in North Carolina.
I saw them this time.
Well, that's probably from the Cubans that moved up there.
Moved up there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, aquí, you're.
Oh, well, then the chickens are bilingual now.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because, I mean, here
So it's Kiki Doodle Doo?
you're in, going to Macy's and you see a chicken literally crossing the road. I mean, it's just so normal here. I mean, listen, gallinas are an integral part of Caribbean culture. They just are.
That's true.
Gallinas are our family. We use them as pets. We use them in home decor. We eat them. We get their eggs.
We use them for religious ceremonies.
Gallinas are an integral part of the Latino Caribbean community.
Multi-purpose. I never thought
and it's
about
a Caribbean thing.
It is. It's
yeah.
A Caribbean thing.
We love la gallina.
We do.
I've said this story many times. When I was a kid, I was not allowed to have a dog, but we had chickens.
Well, and they had your parents.
Yeah, and my parents
had chicken recently.
My parents very seriously thought that me having chickens was the proper alternative to not having a dog.
I like that there was no in between animal. No. There was no consideration of like fish.
I wasn't having another mammal. It was a chicken.
I love how it was like, no, mammals are off the table.
Yeah, it was a chicken.
We don't like reptiles.
I had a bunch of chickens hasta que una noche vino el raccoon.
Oh, how do you say raccoon in Spanish?
Raccoon.
Okay. Okay.
But the raccoon. Okay. Wait. So I always had the biggest confusion because Cubans say raccoon when they're referring to a possum.
Wait, they do?
Yeah.
I've never had an occasion to.
How does a Cuban say a possum?
Well, I've never had one say possum to me, or maybe they were and I didn't know because
they were saying raccoon, right? So growing up, I was like, okay, there's the American raccoon, which is the one with the black thing in the eyes, the furry one, and then there's the Cuban raccoon, which is really a possum, but I still call it a raccoon in Spanish. Like when I'm at my parents' house, I'm like, mira, iba un raccoon por la cerca, because they like to walk on top of the fence.
Okay, now I need to know how you say possum and raccoon in Spanish.
Raccoon in Spanish.
Okay.
Mapache.
Mapache. Have you ever heard anybody say mapache?
Possum in Spanish. Zarigüeya.
What?
I'm sorry, repeat that one again.
Zarigüeya. And the U has the two little dots.
Okay, first of all, I want to start.
There's not a Cuban on earth that says zarigüeya. Does a zarigüeya then snack on paltas?
I met a Cuban named Zarigüeya, but I've never heard it for the possum.
Wait, what do your parents call it?
Raccoon.
Raccoon. You've never noticed that?
And I think for possum they say opossum. I think they actually say that.
I mean, at least that's correct. I mean,
that's nearer.
Yeah.
No, we say raccoon.
But again, remember, like my parents grew up here, so they knew the difference between the raccoon and the possum.
Okay. I think that
they grew up. I'm saying they grew up with both. Like they grew up with the distinction.
How do you say fox in Spanish? Un cachorro.
No, una foca.
Una foca.
Una foca.
Do foxes exist in Cuba? I don't think so.
Cachorro's puppy.
Isn't it Zorro?
I have never.
No, you're right.
Foca seal.
Foca seal. Zorro. That's right, because that's why he's called Zorro.
I have never heard of a Cuban or a Puerto Rican be like, no, porque en Puerto Rico había mucho zorro.
Well, I mean, there were, but they're not talking about the animals.
Yeah. I've never heard of my family having an encounter in Cuba with a fox. Foxes don't exist in the Caribbean. Gallinas do.
Gallinas and various aviary.
That's like another animal that was like completely foreign to me. I was like, what the hell is a ferret?
I only knew what a ferret was because there was a kid in my elementary school who had one.
This segment is called Animals That Don't Exist to Cubans. Ferret. How do you even say ferret in Spanish?
Ferret.
No. Ferret in Spanish in Cuban doesn't even have a fake name
because they just can't conceive.
They're not in our hemisphere.
They don't even understand. Because also I don't think Cubans even understand like the word weasel, which would be the closest to a ferret.
I remember.
Udon.
What is it?
Udon.
Udon.
Huron. Ferret. Udon.
Udon.
I bet.
I know. ¿Cómo se llamaba el opossum? Zaragoza. What is it called? What's it called?
Sarigüeya.
Zarigüeya.
Yeah.
Y el otro matache.
Mapache. Fulano.
Fulano matache. Zarigüeya.
These are all animals that don't exist if you're Cuban.
They don't. They don't.
Mira, the only
I know
thing
there are owls in Cuba because my grandmother.
The only thing I had growing up was pescadito,
Okay.
un periquito,
I love that everything was diminutive.
y una gallina.
Oh, it wasn't una gallinita? Like, okay.
Those were my pets growing up. Un pescadito, los pescaditos,
Right, yeah.
which were goldfish. You know, pescadito. Yo tuve dos pajaritos.
What kind of pajarito?
Parakeets.
Oh, okay.
You know that they will give you the little white little.
Yeah, little periquito.
The periquito. and gallina.
Gallina.
No mammals.
No mammals. Do you know what? I think it's because your parents really believe in like the evolutionary ladder.
And definitely no reptiles.
No. No. Which is ironic considering how many there are around
Never
us.
forget that one time. One of my cousin's girlfriends, she had an iguana. And my mom one time saw her. She's like, "Qué asquerosidad." She had an iguana on her shoulder with like a
little leash?
an earringer. Well, not an earring, a ring.
Like a leash?
No, like you could hang from the iguana skin here, like a little una goya chico, like a hoop.
On the iguana?
Oh my god! Imagine iguanas have like an extra skin
Yes,
here,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
instead of putting an earring, they would put it there.
Okay.
Right, but it's not called an earring because it's on the iguana's ears.
Okay.
Do iguanas have ears? Okay, we're going downhill fast. We're going downhill fast.
They don't have ears per se, but they can listen.
So no reptiles and definitely no mammals.
Iguanas no tienen oreja, pero tienen oído.
Okay.
And I don't know how to say that in English.
No tienen oreja, pero tienen oído.
Because I feel like in English, the ear is also just the ear.
No, chico, en Cuba nada más habían vaca, buey, yegua, potra.
Why does it sound like you're referring to all of the undesirable people in the town?
You know what a potra is, right?
Yes.
Una potra.
Una potra.
That's where caballo viejo comes from.
Yeah.
You know, chickens. En Cuba no había nada venenoso.
Nothing?
Oh no, they will. Oh,
So they were like the anti-Australia?
They will very proudly tell you Cuba's the only place on earth. I don't know if this is true, but they will tell you Cuba's the only place on earth where there is no poisonous or venomous animals. And I'm like, really?
So it's a complete opposite of Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. Because in Australia, like I think the Vegemite kills you. Like everything there is designed to just hurt you.
Like they don't have cobras or anything, or like
Yeah, that's why I'm like
poisonous snakes. I mean,
un escorpión.
they have marshland there, you know.
There's gonna be a scorpion.
No, a scorpion in Spanish is un alacrán, right?
Yeah.
They don't have alacranes in Cuba. Aren't those things poisonous?
That's what
or
I'm saying.
venomous?
That's what I'm saying. They have to have scorpion.
No, but it's a Cuban scorpion.
What does that even mean? It just dances salsa? Like what?
Anyway, let's move on
picturing
from
the scorpion's tail
zoology
just going like
Cuban
this.
style. So,
This should be its own Wikipedia page.
Cuban zoology.
Yes.
Listeners, watchers,
Get on
viewers, what do you call the same way, right? That a couple of years ago, I asked you guys, all of our listeners,
Oh, God.
how do you say,
we're going back to the malanga.
how do you say in English, how do you say malanga?
The vegetable,
Malanga,
not the plant.
the plant.
Oh, you were asking about the plant.
The
Okay,
plant,
okay.
malanga. Any Latin
Was it
person
the
will tell
pothos?
you, look at my hanging malanga. Mira qué grande está la malanga. Mira, yo esa malanga cuando la compré era así de grande y mira qué grande está ahora. It's always about la malanga. La abuela tiene una malanga, la mamá tiene una malanga, malanga, right? It's so part of the conversation. So we asked this on our page a couple of years ago, and then people started chiming in. Most people didn't know how you say it in English, and we found that it's called pothos.
Pothos,
right? So my comment was, okay, so it's called pothos.
Right.
How many times do you hear people in English talking about their pothos plant? in comparison to how they talk about la malanga.
Right.
Because I mean, I think we talk about malanga just as much as we talk about chickens.
Right. And that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So I mean, pothos.
Pothos.
Who the hell says
It's
pothos?
because it doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. Unless you go to like a nursery, like
And even then, if it's a nursery in Miami, you ask for malanga.
you're getting a malanga.
If you ask for the pothos, they're going to be
I mean,
like,
I'll go in there.
Pato.
I'll go in there. If I go to a nursery in Broward, I'll be like, "Hi, do you have malangas?"
Malanga.
And then, to make fun, malanga is also a root vegetable
Right,
that
yeah.
you
Let's
eat.
just
But
add the confusion.
That's a whole other
Let's add to the
conversation for
confusion
another
of
day.
it all.
So actually,
Yeah,
I do want to shift the topic to something a little bit more serious. And this is something we've talked about.
What, this wasn't an entirely serious conversation we were just having?
I mean, we're talking about science.
It's science. It's zoology.
That-
People study this.
So there was a study done recently by UNESCO that said, and I have the data here, that 62% of social media influencers do not check any of the info they talk about. And it further showed that 42% of people 18 through 29 get their news from influencers.
Okay, so
right?
62% of influencers don't check their sources, essentially.
Right. So, and this was...
And then 42% people
This was
get
in
news
a
from...
study and investigation that UNESCO did. UNESCO.
Well, explain UNESCO.
Well, it's the United Nations.
But some people may not know what it
okay.
is. That's fine.
And also there was Pew Research.
Okay.
Done on
I'm
this.
very familiar with Pew.
So 62% of influencers out there put information that they don't verify,
Okay.
or information that comes from a credible news source.
Okay.
And what was it? 46% of people 18 through 29 get their news from these influencers.
So essentially social media.
Yes. Something that I've seen a lot in social media recently are people talking about choices health-wise, not to eat this, not to eat that.
Oh, yes.
That this is bad for you and that is bad for you. And, there's definitely maybe a conversation to be had about what you're putting into your body and what
100%.
what ingredients are going into everyday foods. But I would take that information from somebody who is a doctor,
A nutritionist?
a nutritionist or a doctor, a professional that
Dietitian?
went to school and studied this and is basing their opinion on scientific fact, on research, and on data, right?
that's
And
so
what I just
boring.
don't understand is how so many of these influencers go on and they tell you all this stuff. They tell you, oh, because this is killing you and this is doing this and this is doing that. And at the end of the day, they're trying to sell you something, right? And I just don't understand how there's so many people who don't see through that. Because I think of myself as somebody who's, I like to think I'm intelligent, but I think that I like to read things and inform myself from credible sources, right? And I just don't understand how there's people who make very big decisions based on influencers. And I have to tell you guys, being that we generally do not like the word influencer to describe ourselves, but we've been doing this for a long time. I guess, quote unquote, we could fall in the category. Everything we talk about here, unless it's a conversation about malangas, every time we talk about something here, we always get it from a credible news source, right?
We try to show up with some type of backing.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we have been wrong, we have backtracked and we have said it and we have said, hey, this that we talked about was not correct, right? And we're here just talking about things that are happening every week. We're not giving advice to people. Right. We're not telling people what to do. We're just commenting on things that we see in the news, right? And even that, there's a certain amount of fact checking that we do because we're not going to talk about something that is bullshit or something that isn't true. And it's just crazy to me how there's so many people who listen to influencers and make life decisions based on what influencers are doing. Let me remind everybody that influencers make money from engagement. Yep. So even if they put something that they know is not 100% accurate and they know it's going to create engagement, they get paid for that. So they are incentivized to put information out there that is going to create engagement, even if the engagement is negative.
Irrespective.
And another red flag is if that influencer is trying to sell you something, whether it's a supplement or a course, something that they're selling, I mean, that should be a huge red flag that maybe this is not someone that you want to be getting information from, or at the very minimum, get information from somebody who is a professional. And it really sort of, I find it like daunting and in a way frustrating that so many people are basing opinions on influencers. It is mind-boggling to me that a scientist, somebody who studies data, somebody who's a doctor, nowadays have to compete with people that are completely unqualified to give opinions about things online. And this is a world that we live in, that people choose to believe an influencer over somebody who's a professional or somebody who has spent a significant amount of their life studying something, becoming an expert of something, and having data to back up their opinion on things. Because you know what? Science is science. And, I feel that we're heading towards a situation or a reality or a society that now is anti-science. And it's really weird. And it's just, I don't know. It really sort of bothers me because I don't know. I could see right through it. I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything online. I just think it's a really sort of dangerous thing. And it happens in everything, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes I see influencers or content creators, let's say content creators. I remember the other day I commented on something that this had to do with Mariah Carey. I'm a fan. Okay. I've been a fan for years since she started.
You may know this, listeners.
There was somebody who was saying something like, in 2001, Mariah Carey was fighting a conservatorship from her mom and her brother, who wanted to put her in a conservatorship while she was being abused and had all this substance abuse issues. Right. And, what saved her was after 9/11, they reshifted their focus and they let that go. And I'm like, everything about that statement is false. Everything.
None of this happened.
Everything. None of that happened. But there you have people commenting on it, because then they wanted to tie it with Britney Spears, right? Course, yeah. Commenting on it, and that is how false narratives are created and perpetuated. And it's just, that's the world we live in now, that people just literally make up shit.
I'm like you. I don't really put stock in anything that these content creators say for the most part. I will say it is just another example of this world we live in where people want to think that I'm smarter than you. Mm-hmm. I know the secret.
We're red pilling, bro.
I know,
as we talked about some weeks ago.
I'm not one of these sheep. And to me, the biggest red flag of that is if you ever talk to somebody, and please take this as a life lesson. If you're ever talking to somebody about something, irrespective of what the topic is, and their first almost knee-jerk reaction as a response to you is, no, but you need to do your research. Don't even keep going. Just turn on your heel, walk away. Because there will not be a conversation after that point. Mm-hmm. Because what that person, 9 times out of 10, has decided is research is somebody in a corner wearing a tinfoil hat in a darkened room so the authorities can't find them, spewing science. And I can't use this enough.
Their research, I can assure you, is based on social media.
If you're lucky.
Mm-hmm. Or YouTube.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Again, if you're lucky. So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And my whole thing is, again, if that's like literally like the first thing they say is like, no, but you got to do your research. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, I don't have to do my research because there are people out there who are actually research scientists that are doing this for us.
But it's just we're talking about social media, but that trickles down to everyday life. Yeah. Because something that I have constantly complained about the legal field, is that, I would sit down with people and I would give them advice and I would tell them, hey, This is what it is. This, and this, based on your claim or what you're doing.
This is how this
and
works.
people would tell me, well, that's not what they told me. That's not what my neighbor told me. That's not what I heard. I'm like, you're coming to an attorney's office.
Right. So then go to your neighbor.
Right. Like you're coming to an attorney's office and you're receiving legal counsel based on your specific set of facts. And you are choosing not to listen. You could ask questions.
Right, of course. Right.
You could ask questions.
You should ask questions.
Right. But you are choosing based on your specific set of facts pertinent to your case. You are choosing not to listen to the legal professional who went to law school, who's an expert in whatever issue you have, over what you read online or over what your neighbor says. And, that's a very, very complicated and just slippery slope. I mean, I don't believe anything I see online. To me, I mean, online influencers, whatever,
it's a facade.
Is purely entertainment. Entertainment 100%. And I've never crossed that line.
From the highest paid influencer to the lowest, lowest amount of followers, it's all show.
All of it.
It's all show. I guarantee you that the amount of people who are online putting anything genuine or authentic is probably a 0.0001%.
I just think it's interesting that this conversation even has to be had, right?
Yeah.
That we're even talking about.
It's not the first time we've had a variation of this conversation. It's not going to be the last.
No, but I that came up because again, this was a very credible source that said that, like right now, and not to make this political, a lot of people said that they based who they voted for on, like, for example, Joe Rogan and things like that. Right. And I mean, listen, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast every now and then, depending on who he has on. But I listen to that for purely entertainment purposes.
Right.
While I'm driving.
I'm not looking to these people.
I don't make life decisions, whether they're personal decisions or life decisions or what I believe in or what I don't believe in or who I'm going to vote for or not vote for based on what a podcaster tells me. Right. Except us.
Yeah. No, you can follow us. Totally. That's
Raccoon.
Yeah.
No, like, but I mean, again, it's just the world we live in again nowadays.
It's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
Horatio.
Yeah. So
I don't even know who Horatio is.
Horacio.
No, it's from
Horatio
that's
and
from
Horacio
Hamlet.
are not the same person.
They're not the same person.
No.
Not even a little bit.
Horacio es el que te dice, mira, ahí hay un raccoon.
Horatio knows it's a possum.
No, but Horatio will probably tell you that he's reading, I don't know.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
No. Horatio's probably reading Anna Karenina.
Okay.
Yeah. A real Russian classic.
Good old Anna Karenina.
Horacio, on the other hand, is telling you, sí, que hay un raccoon y está friendo tremendo plato de empella. Ay, qué rico. Oh, man. That is the reason I can't be vegetarian. It is that.
The cheese.
No, vegan.
Oh.
Okay, no, I love chicharrones.
Oh, you do.
I do.
I've seen you salivate over them.
And I am. And again, I'm not a big meat eater, but give me some chicharrón.
Yeah, it does something to you.
I mean, doesn't it do something to you?
No, because I'm a meat eater in general. So, like, for me, meat is just part of the...
Junior, are you into chicharrones?
Yes.
He doesn't have to say more.
He doesn't have to say more.
No.
I think chicharrones, it's either you're in it or you're not.
That's true. And if you're not, I don't want to know you.
Yeah.
Growing up, I used to call green pea soup, which is chicharo.
Yeah.
I used to call it chicharrones.
Oh, yeah?
I used to just call all of it
chicharrone.
Oh, were you disappointed when there wasn't like crunchiness in it later?
Green peas chicharo.
Still to this day, thanks for the reminder.
Chicharo, ¿verdad? Oh, that was something else growing up. Chicharo y lenteja.
Lenteja.
But I do like lenteja.
I prefer lenteja to chicharo.
¿Cuándo se come la lenteja?
New Year's.
Año Nuevo.
Yeah.
¿Y qué también se come el Año Nuevo?
La uva.
Bueno, New Year's Day, el Año Nuevo.
Oh, I don't know.
Buñuelo.
Oh, that's right. Buñuelo. Yeah, that's right.
And I was always so confused growing up because when we would have buñuelos on New Year's, they look like a pretzel, but they're not.
They're very so not.
Right, but they have the shape of a pretzel.
But they're so
and
sweet.
I'm like, pero this is not a pretzel.
They're like empalagantes sweet.
And the funny thing is, I don't like pretzels. So
was the problem?
You know what? Pretzels is one of those things that people just pretend to like, but they don't really like.
I like a good pretzel.
Oh,
I like a nice hot pretzel with
A
like.
soft pretzel. I'm talking about the snacking pretzels, the hard ones.
Oh, I mean, I'll eat it.
Unless it's the Schneider's ones with the honey mustard. Okay, that's good.
No, I like pretzels just because like sometimes you want something salty, but I don't want like a ruffle.
No, I don't. I like the pretzels, the soft ones with the cream cheese inside,
Ooh, that's some good shit.
especially if you're like at the movies.
I
You know
never had a
what?
pretzel at a
You know
movie.
what? I want to say that I went to the movies this weekend. I saw Wicked. Wicked was great. I already posted this on social media. We're not
No, but I want to hear it in person.
We're not gonna get into it. Wicked was great. It was
Who was
great.
right? Who
I
was
was
right?
great. You
Who
were
was
right. I
right?
already apologized to you and
Okay.
Stephanie.
All right.
Okay, I don't
All
need to
right.
do it 3 times.
right.
But you know what though? You know, it made me really happy that obviously this weekend or whenever, Wicked and Gladiator opened, and the movie theater was packed.
Oh, really?
Packed, and it made me so happy. I got such a like nostalgic, and it smelled like popcorn. You know, it had all the right sounds, amount of people,
It
smells.
was just missing Nicole Kidman.
No, but Nicole Kidman on the AMC is new, and I was at Regal.
Oh, okay.
But you know what I love? That Regal redid their concession intro
They did.
with the roller coaster. Yeah, they redid it. It's new.
yay.
When's the last time you were at a Regal theater?
It's been a minute.
Oh no. They've had it for a while. When I mean a while, I mean maybe a year or two.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't been to a rewind.
Yeah.
Forever.
But it was great that it was full. It was packed, and it made me so happy because, you know, now especially with the world changing and post pandemic and like theaters closing and all that,
Streaming.
I'm like, you know, we've talked about this a ton of times here on the show. Actually, you know what? Wicked is a good example of what we've talked about here on the show before, that people nowadays don't have a lot of shared experiences, and monoculture is sort of dying. Wicked, I realize that Wicked, there's a specific community that is really into Wicked, but it's been a box office success. And there's a lot of
and thanks to the PR blitz, we've all become part of the
right. So even if you don't go see
Whether
the
you want to
movie,
or not,
you
yeah.
remember
Yeah.
Wicked, the Wicked era, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good example of now one of those very few shared experiences that it's something that in pop culture wise, a lot of people are into. But it was just great to see the movie theater really packed. It made me really, really happy because, you know, as we discussed here, I think last week or whenever, I don't care how good your surround sound system is.
It's not.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
How good your sound bar is. It's not the same. It's the excitement. I mean, even the popcorn tastes better.
It does.
It's all in your mind, but it does.
No, because it's probably just been sitting in that butter for much longer than it would be sitting in your house.
And you know that
So
thing,
está
that
todo
thing
chumao.
that you put on it is not real butter.
I don't care.
That's some type of oil, whatever. That probably some influencer tells you it's toxins and it's going to kill you.
I
But
mean,
damn, is it good?
they may not be wrong if you eat enough of it, but
Well, I mean, how many gallons of fake oil butter or popcorn butter are you eating?
don't judge me.
Like, but it was great. It was great.
Shame my oil eating habits.
Yeah. No, we don't eat oil. We eat manteca.
That's true.
You know that a lot of people think manteca is more healthy because it's organic. I'm
Wait,
serious.
Are you serious?
I am serious. There's a lot of people, things like beef tallow and all that stuff. That's why you've heard beef tallow coming up a lot. That they think that in like manteca is a healthier alternative to seed oils. Seed oils specifically, and like palm oils. Like there's a lot of people who say that they are
I didn't know.
more unhealthy. That's why they always tell you that you should have like coconut oil or avocado oils, the healthiest, and olive oil, to try not to have like sunflower seed oil or palm oil or even vegetable oil. But lard, manteca, a lot of people see as beneficial because it's organic.
I would have to buy so much Crisco for pimento pollo.
No, that's shortening.
Okay.
Not the same thing.
Okay. Still, we'd have to buy so much lard.
Oh, but you could get manteca anywhere in any Cuban
Oh, I
place.
didn't. But just so much. I don't know why.
They sell it by the pint.
Visually to me, it just seems like we would need like a palette.
Yeah, but manteca goes a long way. And it's flavor.
All right, maybe we'll explore it.
Don't you ever, when you fry your bacon, don't you keep the grease?
I don't fry bacon. Like I don't
Never
make
mind.
bacon at home.
Never mind. Okay.
I
go
don't.
ahead.
I don't make bacon at home.
Go ahead.
But we can go ahead. Like what
Yeah,
is-
go with your microwavable bacon.
No, I just don't make bacon.
Oh, okay.
I really only have bacon when I go out.
Okay.
Stop judging me. First you judge me because I eat too much movie theater oil, and now because I don't make bacon.
Sorry, we don't make
Look
bacon.
at all the shaming he's doing to me, pero primos.
We don't.
All of it.
We don't have bacon.
All of it.
We don't talk about bacon. No.
No, I know. I don't say I don't have bacon. I have bacon. I like bacon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So can we talk about the little drama, interfamily drama that you're having with family that you don't even know?
With Ana de Armas?
Yes. Should we bring up Miss de Armas? So quick recap, because we might have new people. So Darian is actually related to the actress Ana de Armas. They've never met.
I don't know her.
They've never met. They don't know each other. But her grandfather and her maternal.
Her grandfather.
Her grandfather
and my grandfather were brothers.
Right. Your grandfather on your maternal side were brothers. So I mean, when we say they're related, they're related. It's not like super lejano or anything like that. So we've mentioned this before on the show that she's your prima. I mean, we say it winkingly, obviously. Yeah. Well, this week,
but my mom and my aunt do know her family. They know her family. Their family,
right. But they don't. But nobody knows her. Like you guys don't know her,
right? No, my parents were long gone when she was born.
Right. But that's what I mean. Like it's not like you have a connection with her specifically, right? So this past week, she basically became public enemy number one of El Exilio Cubano because she was spotted with el hijastro de Díaz Canal, the current Cuban dictator. And let's just say it's a good thing she doesn't have a star on Cayocho.
Le van a pasar la planadora por arriba.
that guy that has it, he just
la planadora. I wonder where he got that planadora from. I've always wondered that. I'm like, where did he get the planadora? Because you can't buy that shit off, Harbor Freight.
No, and especially not back then.
And that shit is a motorized vehicle, so I'm sure that has to have some type of licensing of some sorts.
Did they just rent it from Home Depot?
Yeah, la planadora. So my mom is pissed. My mom's like, ¿Tú puedes creer que la cerveza? So here's the thing. I have not come to her defense because obviously, as somebody who is Cuban and was born in Cuba,
right.
I have,
You've expressed your
those
opinions.
things are personal, right? Anything Cuban is personal, right? Do I think that her dating him is a PR move, a terrible PR move? Terrible, right? Maybe the guy, because a lot of times this is a guy's stepson,
right? So
right?
Right.
You don't choose who your parents are,
and in this case, his mother remarried someone,
right? So you don't know what the guy's ideologies are. Nonetheless, from a PR perspective, it is a terrible PR perspective.
Right.
What I am not going to do, and I understand and agree with a certain amount of the outrage because, again, my family's outraged, right? I get it. It's very valid, right? What I will not go on and say is that she's a communist because, first of all, I don't know that she is. She's never said that she is. And what people also have to understand is her parents are still in Cuba. Most of her family is still in Cuba. Right. She's an international star. Right? There's many times that she, at the beginning of her career, especially when she was doing a considerable amount of work in Europe, that she wanted to have her parents go to the premieres and things like that, and their visas were denied. Right? Both of the kids are out of Cuba. Now, one of your kids specifically is a star. A star. You think, you're not coming back. Right. So those are things that people don't know about, right? And they comment on. And it's very easy to sit here in the United States or wherever you're at and say what she should do, right? Versus a reality of being there or having family there. Right.
And her family is under the microscope.
Her family is certainly under the microscope and they are scrutinized. And that is something that my family has sort of talked to her family about, right? The scrutiny that they are. So it's very easy to be like, well, she should speak more against the government and she should, some people don't want to be advocates. Some people just don't want to be that person. maybe she's not that person. Maybe she doesn't do it out of fear and all that. So again, I definitely understand the criticism. I think that's a terrible PR move from her. Like, what the hell? Like, really? So I understand condoning her for it, but I am not going to go and say, oh, she's a communist and this and that. Right. What bothers me about all of this, and this is like a larger conversation that we're not going to get into now, because that would be about a 3-hour episode, a special edition 3-hour episode. But let me tell you, is I get very frustrated sometimes, and this is something I can comment on because I am Cuban and I am from there and I was born there, and it's in every fiber of my being, right? Is sort of the hypocrisy within the community, and and these type of hypocrisies exists in all that. Yeah. Is that a ella la quieren matar, right? And again, I understand the criticism, but you know what? A few years ago or some years ago, Gente de Zona, which they used to speak very fondly and lovingly about the government in Cuba. Right. Gente de Zona, people were jamming to Gente de Zona. Right. They were selling out the AAA down here, and everybody loved Gente de Zona. But the guy, the one con la voz, the bigger guy with the glasses, was freaking talking about how great Cuba is and how great the government is, and kissing their ass. So it's like, okay, well, I'm sorry. This is a case of selective outrage. Like, okay, we're gonna
crucify this one, but not that one.
Bash her, which again I understand, but then there's some other people that think, no, you got to pass because we like your music. I mean, that's a much bigger conversation because I remember, maybe this was like 10 years ago or something, that Gente de Zona had a. This is when I lived downtown,
That's and right, yes.
I lived directly across the arena, like directly, and Gente de Zona was having like a sold out show.
They had multiple sold out shows
at the arena, and there was, I wouldn't say it was hundreds of people, but there was a good group of people that were protesting Gente de Zona. That they were like, how can you be Castro sympathizers and be selling out an arena in Miami? That is 99% people. The people there are Cuban, right? So it's that selective outrage that sometimes I just have to swallow it. And when I hear people talking crap, I just have to we're going to be civil.
You have to get zen.
We're going to be civil. I'm a trained litigator. We're going to put this aside and move on. And speaking of which, I think it's time we move on to our Last Coquito.
You read my mind. I was like, we should go to the Last Coquito. So
it's the holidays again. Time for families to come together and enjoy flan, mac and cheese, un pumpkin pie, a little coquito. The list goes on and on. But do you know what brings all those delicious holiday favorites together? The delicious, creamy taste of dairy, like the kind we get from Florida milk. And this holiday, our Florida dairy farmers are also giving you the perfect recipes at floridamilk.com or lechedeflorida.com. Así que whether you're celebrating Thanksgiving or Nochebuena, don't forget to add some dairy to the celebration.
So I'm going to give my Last Coquito. This is a great Last Coquito. I'm going to give my Last Coquito to Betty White. You know why? Betty White is getting a stamp.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Betty White is getting a stamp. And I mean, Betty White, you know what makes me so happy? Not only about her getting a stamp, is that Betty White, I wouldn't even say it's that she lived long enough, because sometimes people live as long as hers and they don't get their flowers.
Correct.
But Betty White got her flowers.
Yep.
There was like a 10, 15 year period there that it was flowers for Betty White.
Which should be the name of the documentary.
Flowers for Betty White?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm glad that she got her flowers. Now, the one we need to give flowers to, and we've talked about this here on the show because she's still alive, is
Rita Moreno?
No, Marla
Gibbs.
Who's in her 90s as well. And
That's
she's an icon in television.
That's right. You know what? Yes, you're absolutely right. Rita Moreno just got her Barbie. Where's the Mary Jenkins Barbie? That's all.
Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it as a 2-pack. Marla Gibbs and Jack Hay.
Yeah. But anyway, she's getting a stamp, and I mean, it's America's, national treasure.
She really is.
She is.
It's her and then Dolly Parton.
What I think was really great about Betty White and Dolly Parton too is that it exceeds and just it erases demographic.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you come from, what race,
Background,
ethnicity, background, social, economic level, education level, blah, blah, blah. Everybody loved Betty White.
Yeah.
And if you didn't like Betty White, you were a communist.
You're the communist.
Ahí sí que te digo comunista.
Yeah. They probably, instead of singing "Thank you for being a friend," sing "Thank you for being a comrade." Instead of cheesecake, it's borscht.
Have you ever met anybody who didn't like Betty White? Because I would consider that like a, what is it?
I think that's a personal offense.
No, not a personal offense, a crime against humanity. Like, not like
We should find that person and make them pay special taxes.
they need to go to the. I'm blanking out now. Dude, the international court. I should know this.
For the war crimes.
Eso mismo.
Uh-huh. Oh my God, the ones that tried Hitler. Oh my God, why can't I think of anything?
I can't. It's the refreshment.
Yeah, it is.
Lack of
It is.
refreshment.
It's a lack of.
So Last Coquito for Betty White, and Betty White would have loved it. I'm sure Betty White had many coquitos in her day.
Betty White, I'm sure, had coquitos in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
Yeah, when she was out there saving, animals and all that.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is savings raccoon.
Raccoon.
I'm sure since Betty White was an animal advocate, she knew the difference between raccoon and raccoon.
Yeah, no, she understood.
Yeah, she understood.
She understood because she lives out in California where there's lots of Spanish speakers.
No,
so
she knew the
they get it.
regionalisms.
Of course. Betty White knew everything. All seeing, all knowing Betty White.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from one icon to another, my last Coquito. And it's funny because I just realized as I've been sitting here this entire episode doing this, like moving this cable behind me or whatever, and it's kind of appropriate because my last Coquito is going to Cher's memoir.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a lot of interviews this week on that.
But I'm not reading it. I'm listening to it.
Is it narrated by her?
Yeah, of course it's narrated by Cher. But it's not. But the thing is that so it's narrated by Cher, but it's also it's co-narrated by the lady who played Cher in the Broadway musical and won the Tony for it, Stephanie Block. But there's no rhyme or reason as to when one comes in and the other one leaves. So you'll literally be in the middle of a chapter and it'll be like a sentence where it'll just be like, yeah, and then I met Sonny and we were walking down the street. And then it was a very lovely day. And it's just like, wait, the voice changed completely, like in the span of like a sentence. It's kind of fantastic. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm always a big fan of like these memoirs. If you're gonna listen to the audio version, listen to it read by the author, like the celebrity. Yeah. Especially when there's somebody as interesting as Cher. But it's it's an experience. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I'm only on chapter like 5. The thing is like almost 16 hours long.
Wow, that's a lot of Cher.
That is a lot of Cher. Like I should be the Grand Marshal at the Pride Parade after that.
You should get some type of special award.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna apply for one. Like
I'm sure you'll be able to turn back time.
No, I won't, because it's 16 hours I'm not getting back. Yeah. And trust me, I believe I will not get those back. Oh, and by the way, this is part 1.
Yeah, that I do know. She's been on like every single talk show. Yeah. So, it's sort of like Wicked. That campaign has been insane. So, I mean,
Cher has defied gravity.
I can't say I'm a Cher fan, but I mean, like it or not, I mean, I appreciate Cher. Right. But I mean, like it or not, I'm getting Cher. Like, Cher is coming through my algorithm.
Yeah. Quiera o no quiera, te van a dar dotazo.
Gypsy, tramps, and thieves.
Yes. The dark lady. All of it. So
good for her.
It's fun. It's a fun, listen. And again, the fact that it changes narrators like mid-sentence is just an added perk.
But from what I've heard in the many interviews that have come on,
you've probably already read the book by extension of the interviews.
That this one focuses on Sunny.
I haven't even gotten to Sunny yet.
Oh, so it focuses now on her mom. Like her growing up and all that.
She, at this point that I've listened to, she's only 14. And I mean, Cher's in her early hundreds. So we've still got a ways to go.
Right.
Let me tell you something. Only Cher's memoir would start with her ancestors who are Native Americans from the 1800s.
Wow.
Cher's memoir starts in the 1800s.
Junior, you know the saying, after the apocalypse, there'll only be 2 things. You know that saying? Roaches and Cher.
Yes. Mostly because she needs an audience for the continuing farewell tour.
Is that thing still going on?
No, but I'm sure after this book. This is probably an extension of it.
Oh, sure.
Why not?
Sure. Yeah. So, Cher and Betty White.
Cher and Betty White.
I'm sure they did something together.
I'm sure that they were both on the Carol Burnett show together.
Or maybe Betty White was on the Sonny and Cher show.
Right. Or they both just went to Bob Mackey's house for dinner.
Anyway.
As
Well,
one does.
everybody, ya que se terminó la altura de
Yes.
Thanksgiving,
As you're about to have your gobbler.
remember, have the gobbler. Remember. We hope you listen, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your pastelito. Well, no. Remember to grab your gobbler and your
Pumpkin pie?
Pumpkin pie. No, pan de calabaza. No, pie de calabaza.
Pie de calabaza.
Pie de calabaza in
It's
English and
not
in Spanish,
pumpkin pie.
not the same thing.
It's not pumpkin pie.
And what else? Oh, and your last coquito. Your coquito de la fiesta. And have everybody a great holiday weekend.
Yes.
And we will be back next week for our final episode,
That's
our
right.
Christmas episode,
Christmas episode.
of season 7. So see you then, everyone.
Cuídense, mi gente. Bye.